Zara Eth stood in the crystal chamber of her family's palace, watching the twin suns of Kytheria set through the transparent walls. Her blue skin shimmered in the fading light, and the silver marks on her forehead glowed softly. These marks showed that she was born to one of the noble families that ruled their world. She heard footsteps behind her. Without turning around, she felt her mother's mind touch hers. This was how her people talked to each other. Through thoughts, instead of words. But today, something felt different. Her mother's thoughts were careful and guarded. Zara Eth. "We need to speak," her mother said out loud. Using spoken words instead of mind talk meant this was serious business. Zara Eth turned around slowly. Her mother, Velana, stood in the doorway wearing formal robes of deep purple. Her face looked stern, the way it did when she dealt with important political matters. "What is it, mother?" Zara Eth asked. "Your father and I have made a decision about your future," Velana said. She walked to the window and stood next to her daughter. "The council has approved a marriage contract. Under the seven eyes wise for a T. The council has approved a marriage contract. The council has approved a marriage. The council has approved a marriage." Zara Eth felt her heart sink. She had known this day would come. All noble daughters had to marry to help their families make alliances with other powerful groups. But she had hoped she would have more time. "Which family?" she asked. "Is it someone from the Veltar clan? Or perhaps the Zinthara?" Her mother was quiet for a long moment. This made Zara Eth nervous. She tried to read her mother's thoughts, but they were blocked behind strong mental shields. "The arrangement is not with another Kytherian family," Velana said finally. Zara Eth frowned. "Then who?" "A human." The words hit Zara Eth like a physical blow. She stepped backward, her eyes wide with shock and fear. "A human," she whispered. "Mother, you cannot be serious." "I am completely serious," Velana replied. "The Empire has been working to bring the human worlds into our alliance. They control important mining operations in the outer systems. This marriage will secure those resources for our family." Zara Eth felt sick. Humans were the most feared species in the known galaxy. Everyone knew the stories about them. They were violent creatures who solved all their problems with fighting. They had no psychic abilities, which meant they had no souls. They were like wild animals that learned to use technology. "Mother, please," Zara Eth begged. "Humans are dangerous. They are savage and unpredictable. They cannot even communicate properly because they have no telepathic abilities. How could I possibly live with such a creature?" "The decision has been made," her mother said firmly. "The human government has agreed to the terms. The ceremony will take place in 1 month." Zara Eth's legs felt weak. She sat down in one of the crystal chairs near the window. All her life, she had heard terrible stories about humans. When she was little, her nursemaid used to tell her scary tales about human warriors who could kill enemies with their bare hands. The older children at school would whisper about how humans ate the flesh of other creatures and enjoyed causing pain. "What do you know about this human?" she asked in a small voice. "His name is Marcus Chen," Velana replied. "He was once a soldier in their military forces. Now he works as a diplomat. He has agreed to live here on Kytheria and follow our customs." A soldier. That made it even worse. Zara Eth had seen the recordings of human battles. They fought with a brutality that shocked even the warrior species of the galaxy. They never gave up, even when facing impossible odds. They seemed to enjoy violence in a way that no civilized being could understand. "Mother, I am frightened," Zara Eth admitted. For a moment, Velana's expression softened. She reached out and touched her daughter's hand. "I understand your fear," she said gently, "but this marriage is important for our family's future. The mining rights in the asteroid fields could make us one of the most powerful families in the Empire. Besides, humans may be primitive, but they are not stupid. He will know that harming you would mean war with all of Kytheria." Zara Eth was not comforted by this. She had heard about how humans treated their own females. They kept them as property and used violence to control them. Human females had no rights, and no protection under their laws. "What if he hurts me?" she asked. "You are telepathic and he is not," her mother replied. "You will be able to sense his intentions before he acts. If he threatens you, you can contact the guards instantly through mind speech. He will be outnumbered and outmatched." This was true, but it did not make Zara feel much better. She thought about her friend Kirana, who had married a male from a warrior family. Even though Kirana's husband was Catherian, he still dominated her through his stronger psychic abilities. How much worse would it be to be bound to a creature that had no psychic skills at all? Without telepathy, humans probably could not even understand emotions properly. "When will I meet him?" Zara asked. "Tomorrow," her mother said. "He is arriving on the evening transport from the human diplomatic station. You will have dinner with him and his escorts." Zara spent the rest of the evening in her room, staring out at the stars and trying not to cry. She thought about running away. But where could she go? Her family's mental tracking abilities would find her anywhere on the planet. Besides, breaking a marriage contract would bring shame to her entire bloodline. She tried to imagine what this Marcus Chen would look like. Humans were supposed to be larger and stronger than Catherians, with rough skin and harsh features. They had no elegant markings on their foreheads, and their eyes could not change color with their emotions. They were said to smell strange because they ate meat from dead animals. As the night grew deeper, Zara made a decision. She would be brave and do her duty to her family, but she would also be careful. She would keep her mental shield strong, and never let this human creature see her fear. Maybe if she was cold and distant enough, he would lose interest and ask to break the contract. She fell asleep, hoping that tomorrow would prove all the scary stories about humans were just exaggerations. Deep in her heart, though, she was terrified that they were all true. Zara spent the entire day preparing for the meeting. She chose her most formal dress, a flowing gown made of silver fabric that reflected light like water. Her mother had insisted she wear the family's ceremonial jewelry to show their high status. The heavy necklace and bracelets felt like chains around her neck and wrists. "Remember to keep your mental shield strong," her mother advised as they walked to the formal dining hall. "Do not let him sense your fear. Humans may not have telepathy, but they can sometimes read emotions from facial expressions and body movements." Zara nodded. She had practiced controlling her expression in the mirror for hours. She would be polite but cold, showing no weakness that he could use against her. The dining hall was one of the most beautiful rooms in the palace. Crystal columns reached up to a domed ceiling that showed the night sky through transparent panels. Soft light came from floating orbs that drifted slowly around the room. Everything was designed to show the elegance and power of Catherian civilization. When they entered the hall, 3 figures were already waiting. 2 were human diplomats in dark, formal clothing. Between them stood a man who had to be Marcus Chen. Zara's first thought was surprise. She had expected someone larger and more threatening. Marcus was tall for a human, but not as massive as the warriors she had seen in military recordings. His dark hair was neatly cut, and his clothes were clean and well-fitted. When he saw her enter, he stood up straighter and gave a small bow. "Lady Zara," one of the diplomats said, in accented Catherian. "May I present Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth Diplomatic Corps." Marcus stepped forward and bowed again, deeper this time. "My lady, it is an honor to meet you," he said. His Catherian was much better than his companions, though he spoke slowly and carefully. Zara was confused by his behavior. She had expected him to try to dominate the meeting immediately, to claim his rights as her future husband. Instead, he waited for her to acknowledge him before speaking again. "Captain Chen," she said formally, giving the smallest bow that politeness required. "Please, call me Marcus," he said. "I hope this arrangement is not too uncomfortable for you." This confused her even more. Why would he care about her comfort? She studied his face, trying to understand his intentions without being able to read his thoughts. His expression seemed genuine, but humans were supposed to be skilled liars. They sat down at the long crystal table. Marcus waited until she was seated before taking his own chair, even though tradition said that males should sit first to show their authority. During the meal, he was quiet and polite, answering questions from her father about trade agreements and mining rights. Zara watched him carefully throughout dinner. She noticed that he never interrupted anyone, even when the human diplomats were speaking. When servants brought food, he thanked them quietly in their own language. Most nobles never acknowledged servants at all. "Captain Chen," her father said during the main course, "we understand that you served in your military forces before becoming a diplomat." "Yes, sir," Marcus replied. "I was an officer in the Earth Defense Force for 8 years." "You must have seen much combat," her father continued. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "More than I would have preferred," he said finally. This answer surprised Zara. Every Kytherian warrior she knew was proud of their battles and loved to tell stories about their victories. Why would a human soldier not want to talk about fighting? "We have heard impressive stories about human military abilities," her mother said. "War is rarely impressive when you see it up close," Marcus said quietly. "It is necessary sometimes, but it is not something to celebrate." After dinner, the diplomats and her parents moved to another room to discuss contract details. This left Zara alone with Marcus in the dining hall. She felt nervous without other people around, but he made no move to come closer to her. "Lady Zara," he said, "I want you to know that I understand this situation is difficult for you." She looked at him suspiciously. "What do you mean?" "An arranged marriage to a stranger from another species," he said. "It cannot be easy. I want you to know that I will do everything I can to make this comfortable for you." "Comfortable," she repeated. "I know that human and Kytherian customs are different," he explained. "I have been studying your culture, but I am sure I will make mistakes. Please correct me when I do. I want to respect your traditions and your personal wishes." Zara stared at him. In Kytherian culture, males did not ask females for their opinions. They made decisions and expected obedience. The idea that he wanted her to correct him was completely foreign. "What if I do not wish to proceed with this marriage?" she asked boldly. Marcus was quiet for a long time. "Then we would need to find another solution," he said finally. "I will not force you into anything you do not want." "But the contracts have already been signed," she said. "Contracts can be changed," he replied. "Your happiness is more important than trade agreements." Zara felt her mental shields waver for a moment. No one had ever said that her happiness was important. Even her own family saw her mainly as a tool for political advancement. "Why would you care about my happiness?" she asked. "Because that is what marriage should be about," Marcus said simply. "Two people choosing to build a life together. If you do not choose this, then it is not a real marriage." She tried to understand what he was saying. "But in human culture, do not males control their females? I have heard that human women have no rights." Marcus looked shocked. "Who told you that?" "Everyone knows this about humans," she said. "That is not true," he said firmly. "Some human cultures in the past treated women poorly. But we have learned better. In my culture, men and women are equal partners. Marriage is based on love and respect, not ownership." Love. Zara had heard this word before, but it was not common in Kytherian relationships. Marriage was about family alliances and psychic compatibility. The idea of choosing a partner based on emotional feelings was strange. "I do not understand," she admitted. Marcus smiled for the first time that evening. It changed his whole face, making him look younger and less formal. "Would you like me to explain?" he asked. For reasons she could not name, Zara found herself nodding. They talked for another hour. Marcus told her about human concepts of partnership and mutual respect. He explained how humans had learned to communicate and understand each other without telepathy. He described marriages where both partners supported each other's dreams and goals. When the evening ended, Zara was more confused than ever. Nothing Marcus had said matched what she had been taught about humans. Either everything her people believed was wrong, or this human was very skilled at deception. As she prepared for bed, she realized that for the first time in weeks, she was not completely terrified about the future. She was still afraid, but now she was also curious. Maybe tomorrow she would understand more about this strange human who seemed so different from the stories. Over the next few weeks, Marcus visited the palace every other day. Each time, Zara expected him to show his true nature, to reveal the savage behavior that all humans were supposed to have. Instead, he continued to surprise her. On his third visit, he brought a small gift. Zara was immediately suspicious. In Kythrian culture, gifts from males usually came with expectations or demands. "What do you want in return?" she asked when he handed her the wrapped package. Marcus looked confused. "Nothing," he said. "I saw this and thought you might like it. That is all." Quote, Inside the package was a small flowering plant in a crystal pot. The flowers were a soft blue color that almost matched her skin. "It is called a morning glory," Marcus explained. "These grow on Earth in many colors, but I had to search to find blue ones. They bloom every morning when the sun rises." Zara touched one of the delicate petals. "Why did you choose this? You mentioned that you like to watch the sunrise from your window," he said. "I thought you might enjoy having flowers that wake up with the sun." She stared at him. He had remembered a casual comment she had made during their second dinner together. No Kythrian male had ever paid such close attention to her words. "Thank you," she said quietly. As the days passed, Marcus continued to bring small, thoughtful gifts. A book of human poetry, translated into Kythrian. A piece of music recorded on a device that could play the sounds of Earth's oceans. A smooth stone from his home planet that changed color when held in warm hands. None of the gifts were expensive or showy. They were all things that showed he had been listening to her and thinking about what would make her happy. The most surprising gift came after she mentioned missing the singing crystals from her childhood home. These special crystals made beautiful music when the wind touched them, but they only grew in the mountains where her grandmother lived. 3 days later, Marcus arrived with a wooden instrument called a guitar. "I cannot replace your singing crystals," he said, "but I thought I could learn to make similar sounds for you." He had clearly been practicing. When he played, the guitar made soft, flowing melodies that reminded her of the crystal songs. His fingers moved carefully across the strings, and sometimes he made small mistakes that made him smile apologetically. "This is beautiful," she said when he finished a song. "I am still learning," he replied. "Human music is different from Kythrian music, but I hope you enjoy it." After that, music became part of their visits. Marcus would play while they talked, creating a peaceful background that made conversation easier. Zara found herself looking forward to these times together. The biggest test of Marcus's character came when she fell ill with a fever. It was a common Kythrian sickness that lasted several days and left the person weak and unable to concentrate. Her telepathic abilities became unstable, sending random thoughts to anyone nearby. When Marcus arrived for his regular visit, her mother told him that Zara was too sick to see him. "Is there anything I can do to help?" he asked. "This is not your concern," her mother replied coldly. "Caring for the sick is women's work. You should return when she is recovered." But Marcus did not leave. He asked her mother what foods would be good for Zara and what medicines were being used. He requested permission to visit her, promising to be respectful and helpful. Her mother was shocked. In Kythrian culture, males never volunteered to care for sick females outside their immediate family. It was considered beneath their dignity. "Why would you want to do this?" her mother asked. "Because she is going to be my wife," Marcus said simply. "Taking care of each other when we are sick is part of what marriage means." Against her better judgment, her mother allowed Marcus to bring Zara some soup he had made using human ingredients that were supposed to help with fevers. Zara was half asleep when he entered her room, carrying a tray with the soup and some tea. She was embarrassed to be seen in her sleeping clothes with her hair messy and her skin pale from illness. "You should not be here," she said weakly. "Where else would I be?" he asked gently. He set the tray on her bedside table and sat in a chair near the window, far enough away to give her space, but close enough to help if she needed anything. For the next 3 days, Marcus visited every morning and evening. He brought food, read to her from human books, and played quiet music on his guitar. When her telepathic abilities went wild and accidentally projected her confused thoughts at him, He simply smiled and told her not to worry about it. "Does it hurt when my thoughts hit your mind?" she asked on the second day. "I cannot feel your thoughts at all," he reminded her. Being around telepathic people is like being in a room where everyone is having phone conversations, but I cannot hear the other person on the line. This made her laugh for the first time since she had gotten sick. On the third day, when her fever finally broke, she asked him a question that had been bothering her. "Why are you being so kind to me? You barely know me. And this marriage was arranged by our governments. You could wait until I am well, and then ignore me until the ceremony." Marcus was quiet for a moment, setting down the book he had been reading to her. "Can I tell you about my parents?" he asked. She nodded. "They met during a war," he said. "My father was a soldier, and my mother was a doctor. She saved his life when he was wounded. They fell in love while he was recovering." "That sounds like a story from a movie," Zara said. "Maybe." Marcus smiled. "But the important part is what came after. They had 50 years together. I watched how my father treated my mother every day. He brought her tea when she was tired, rubbed her feet when she worked long hours, held her when she was sad. When she got sick with cancer, he took care of her until the very end." Zara felt tears in her eyes. The story was beautiful, but also sad. "What I learned from them," Marcus continued, "is that love is not a feeling that just happens. It is a choice you make every day to put another person's happiness ahead of your own comfort." "But you do not love me," Zara said. "We just met." "No, I do not love you yet," he agreed. "But I respect you. I want to get to know you. And I want to show you that humans are capable of gentleness, not just violence." That night, as Zara fell asleep in her own bed for the first time in days, she realized something that frightened her. She was beginning to trust this strange human who played music and brought her soup and spoke of love as a choice. For the first time since learning about the marriage arrangement, she was not afraid of Marcus himself. Instead, she was afraid of how much she was starting to hope that everything he told her was true. As Zara recovered from her illness, she began to see Marcus differently. She started asking him questions about human culture, genuinely curious about how his people lived without telepathy. "How do humans know what others are feeling?" she asked one afternoon as they walked through the palace gardens. "We watch and listen," Marcus said. "We pay attention to facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language. We also ask direct questions when we are not sure." "That seems very inefficient," Zara said. "With telepathy, we know immediately what someone thinks." "Maybe," Marcus said, "but I think there are advantages to our way too." "Such as?" Marcus stopped walking and turned to face her. "Privacy," he said. "The ability to keep some thoughts to yourself until you are ready to share them. The freedom to change your mind without everyone knowing about it immediately." Zara had never thought about this before. In Catherian society, mental privacy was seen as antisocial and rude. Everyone shared their thoughts freely, except when they had something to hide. "But how do you form deep connections without mind-to-mind contact?" she asked. "Through time and choice," Marcus explained. "When someone chooses to share their thoughts and feelings with you, even though they do not have to, it means more. Trust becomes something you build together, instead of something you can just read from someone's mind." Over the following weeks, Marcus taught her human concepts that had no equivalent in Catherian culture. He explained empathy, the ability to understand another person's feelings by imagining yourself in their situation. He showed her how humans practiced active listening, giving their full attention to understand what someone was really saying. "In human relationships," he said one day, "we have something called emotional support. It means being there for someone when they are sad or afraid, not to fix their problems, but just to let them know they are not alone." "Caitherians do not do this?" he asked, when he saw her confused expression. "When someone is upset, we usually try to change their emotional state through telepathic influence," Zara explained. "We think it is kinder to remove bad feelings quickly. But what if someone needs to feel sad for a while?" Marcus asked. What if they need time to process difficult emotions instead of having them taken away? This idea was revolutionary to Zara Eth. She had never considered that negative emotions might serve a purpose, or that people might need to experience them fully. Marcus began showing her human art, music, and literature on his portable devices. She was amazed by the complexity and beauty that humans created to express emotions they could not share directly through telepathy. This painting, he said, showing her an image on his tablet, was created by a human who was feeling deep sadness. Instead of having someone remove his sadness telepathically, he put it into his art. Now, hundreds of years later, people can look at this painting and understand something about sadness that they might not have learned any other way. Zara Eth studied the painting. It was dark and stormy. But there was something beautiful about it too. She could feel the artist's pain, but also his strength in transforming that pain into something meaningful. Humans do this with all emotions? She asked. The whole range, Marcus confirmed. Joy, anger, fear, love, hope. We create music, write stories, make dances. Some humans spend their whole lives learning to express one particular emotion through art. But why? She asked. If you could just share feelings directly through telepathy, why go through all this extra work? Marcus was quiet for a long moment, thinking about how to explain. Because the work itself matters, he said finally. When a human musician spends years learning to express love through music, they understand love more deeply than they did before. When a poet works for months to find exactly the right words for a feeling, they discover things about that feeling that they never knew existed. As their conversations continued, Zara Eth began to understand that what her people called human primitiveness was actually a different kind of sophistication. Humans had developed incredibly complex ways to understand and connect with each other without telepathy. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, Zara Eth asked Marcus about something that had been bothering her. I need to tell you about something that happened to me, she said nervously. I am listening, Marcus said simply. When I was younger, I was engaged to a Catherian male from a powerful family, she began. He was very strong telepathically, and he used his abilities to control how I felt and thought. He would force happiness when I wanted to be sad, or create fear when I did something he did not like. Marcus's expression grew serious, but he did not interrupt. He said this was normal, that stronger telepaths naturally dominated weaker ones. She continued. When I complained to my family, they said I should be grateful to marry someone so powerful. The engagement only ended when his family found a bride with better political connections. I am sorry that happened to you, Marcus said quietly. Zara Eth was surprised. You do not think I am weak for allowing it? No, Marcus said firmly. I think you were brave for recognizing that it was wrong, even when everyone around you said it was normal. But I did not stop it, she pointed out. Sometimes survival means enduring things we cannot change while we wait for a chance to escape, Marcus said. That does not make you weak. It makes you smart. Zara Eth felt tears in her eyes. No one had ever told her that her feelings about the engagement were valid. Everyone had always focused on her failure to appreciate a good match. This is why I was so frightened when I learned about our arranged marriage, she admitted. I thought all males were like him. Not all males of any species are the same, Marcus said gently. I promise you that I will never use my physical strength or my position to force you to do anything. Your mind will always be your own. How can I know you mean that? She asked. Time will prove it, Marcus said. But for now, I can tell you that in human culture, what your former fiancé did would be considered a serious crime. Using power to control someone's emotions or thoughts against their will is one of the worst things a person can do. That night, Zara Eth realized that her understanding of strength had been completely wrong. In Catherian culture, strength meant the ability to dominate others. But Marcus was showing her that true strength could mean protecting others, especially those who were vulnerable. She also realized that what her people called human savagery was actually a fierce protectiveness. When humans fought, they were not seeking domination for its own sake. They were defending something they loved. For the first time since their engagement was announced, Zara began to think that marriage to Marcus might not be a prison sentence. It might actually be freedom. 3 weeks before the planned wedding ceremony, Zara made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. "I want to proceed with the marriage," she told her parents during breakfast. Her mother nearly dropped her cup of morning tea. "You want to marry the human?" "I want to marry Marcus," Zara corrected. "Not because he is human, but because of who he is as a person." Her father studied her carefully with both his eyes and his mind. "You are certain about this? You are not being influenced by some human manipulation technique?" "I am certain," Zara said firmly. "But I want to change the ceremony." This caused even more surprise. Catherian wedding ceremonies had followed the same pattern for thousands of years. They were formal rituals that demonstrated the transfer of the female from her birth family to her husband's family. "What kind of changes?" her mother asked suspiciously. "I want a ceremony that represents partnership instead of ownership," Zara said. "Marcus has shown me that marriage can be about two equals choosing to build a life together. I want our wedding to reflect that." Her parents were not pleased, but they agreed to discuss the matter with Marcus and his diplomatic team. To everyone's surprise, Marcus was enthusiastic about the idea. "I would be honored to help create a new kind of ceremony," he said. "One that honors both of our cultures while reflecting our values." Word of the planned ceremony spread quickly through the Catherian noble society. Some families were scandalized by the idea of changing ancient traditions. Others were curious about these human concepts of partnership and emotional connection. Representatives from other alien species asked to attend the wedding, wanting to understand what humans might bring to the galactic community besides military strength. As the wedding day approached, Marcus and Zara worked together to plan every detail. They wrote their own vows, combining Kytherian poetry with human promises. They chose music that blended crystal harmonies with guitar melodies. They selected decorations that represented both of their home worlds. "Are you nervous?" Marcus asked the night before the ceremony. "Yes," Zara admitted, "but it is a good kind of nervous. I am excited about our future together." They were sitting in the garden where they had spent so many evenings talking. The blue flowers Marcus had given her were blooming nearby, opening to catch the starlight. "I need to tell you something," Marcus said seriously. Zara felt a moment of fear. "What is it?" "I think I am falling in love with you," he said quietly. She stared at him, feeling her heart race. "Really? Really," he said. "Not just because you are beautiful or because this marriage is convenient. I love talking with you. I love seeing how your mind works. I love the way you think about things I have never considered before. I love your courage in choosing to trust me, despite everything you were taught about humans." Zara felt tears forming in her eyes. "I think I might be falling in love with you too," she whispered. "Might be," Marcus teased gently. "It is scary to admit," she said. "Love makes you vulnerable." "Yes, it does," Marcus agreed. "But it also makes you stronger. When two people truly love each other, they can face anything together." The wedding ceremony took place in the great hall of the palace, with representatives from dozens of species watching. Instead of the traditional Catherian ritual, where the groom claimed his bride through telepathic dominance, Marcus and Zara stood facing each other as equals. "I promise to respect your mind and your choices," Marcus said in his vows. "I promise to support your dreams and to share my own fears and hopes with you. I promise to love you, not because I have to, but because I choose to, every day." Zara's vows included a promise that shocked the Catherian audience. "I choose you freely, without coercion from family or politics. I promise to trust you with my thoughts when I am ready to share them, and to respect your privacy when you need space. I promise to love you as an equal partner, not as a master or servant." When they sealed their marriage with both a human kiss and a Catherian mind touch, something unprecedented happened. Instead of one telepathic mind dominating the other, they created a gentle connection that allowed them to share feelings while still maintaining their individual thoughts. The wedding reception became an informal diplomatic gathering. Alien ambassadors approached Marcus and Zara with questions about human relationship customs. Several mentioned that their own species might benefit from learning about emotional intelligence and partnership-based bonding. "Your people seem to have discovered something we missed," said Ambassador Vectar, a representative from the reptilian Saurid Empire. "We have always focused on logical alliances and power structures. But watching you two together, there is something deeper there. Humans learned these things because we had to," Marcus explained. "Without telepathy, we needed other ways to connect with each other. We made many mistakes along the way. But we eventually learned that relationships work best when both people choose to be there." 6 months after their wedding, Zareth and Marcus were invited to address the Galactic Council. Their marriage had become a symbol of successful human integration into the galactic community, and other species wanted to understand what humans could contribute beyond military service. "Many species see humans as primitive because we lack telepathic abilities," Zareth said in her speech. "But I have learned that what we call primitive might actually be a different kind of advancement. Humans have developed emotional intelligence, empathy, and the ability to form bonds based on choice rather than biological compatibility or power dynamics." E.T. Marcus continued her thought. "We offer the galaxy something it has never had before, the knowledge that relationships and societies can be built on mutual respect and freely given love, instead of dominance and submission. We show that diversity of thought and feeling can make a community stronger, not weaker." The speech led to formal requests for human cultural advisors from 17 different species. Trade agreements shifted from simple resource exchanges to include educational and cultural programs. Humans began serving as mediators in conflicts between telepathic species who had become locked in mental warfare. On their first wedding anniversary, Marcus and Zareth stood again in the garden where they had first talked about love. "Do you regret anything?" Marcus asked, playing a soft melody on his guitar. "Only that it took me so long to realize how wrong I was about humans," Zareth said. "I was right to fear the kind of marriage I was raised to expect. But you showed me there was another way to be strong." What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "In my culture, strength means the power to make others afraid," she explained. "But you taught me that real strength means the power to make others feel safe. You gave me the freedom to choose you," which made that choice meaningful. As the twin suns set behind them, Marcus put away his guitar and took Zareth's hand. Their wedding rings, simple bands they had designed together, caught the fading light. "I love you," he said simply. "I love you too," she replied. And in a galaxy where most beings assumed that the strongest species was the one that could dominate all others, a human and an alien proved that sometimes the greatest strength was knowing how to love and be loved in return. Their story spread throughout the galactic community, carried by traders and diplomats to countless worlds. It became proof that humanity's greatest gift to the universe was not their ability to wage war, but their capacity to transform enemies into family through patience, kindness, and the revolutionary idea that everyone deserved to be chosen rather than conquered. Years later, when humans were known throughout the galaxy as the species that understood love, Marcus and Zareth would smile and remember that it all began with a marriage contract and a man who brought flowers that bloomed with the sunrise.